out in that studio. Hang on, let me cleanse this lens. Clean that lens. Yeah, there's just no way. The thumbnail, it didn't cool down real great last night. And so it stayed really hot out in the studio. I even tried getting up early and opening the windows and everything, but we can do this. This is fine. I like the direct interaction with you guys like this. So I'm definitely missing something. While I'm waiting on you guys to start showing up, I'm gonna make a cup of coffee. So yeah, I woke up, got ready to start filming, and I was like, oh, I'll get the studio opened up, and it was just, I was like, it was at 7 o'clock this morning, it was already 89 degrees out there. And then it just has progressively gotten more humid. So we are gonna talk about some nice stuff. You just gotta bear with me long enough to get my coffee. I must caffeinate. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you break your equipment. Forgot I was connected to the power bank. So that loud noise you heard was a very expensive power bank falling onto the tile floor. So yeah, I'm gonna make some coffee real quick. It's just horribly humid right now. Hang on, let me turn. I don't need this light on. It's horribly humid right now, and it's about 80. It says it's 75 outside, but it's definitely hotter than that. But the studio sits on the side that faces the sun. And so let me adjust this. This is not where I want it. It's definitely, it says it's only 75 degrees outside, but I just took the dog for a walk, and I'm gonna tell you it's way more than 75 out there. In the sun, it's kind of brutal out right now. I love having these microphones without having to tell you guys, oh, hang on a second, I'll be right back. It felt good last night. It cooled down in the bedroom and everything, but like I said, it was still like 80 degrees at like 10 o'clock last night. And it didn't cool down till after that, and by that time, I'd already closed the studio up and everything, so it started off at a baseline of probably about 80 degrees in the studio. So there are just some days. I filmed yesterday, even though it was hot. Guys, if you could just hit, just tap the screen twice, and it'll drop a like on the video, and it'll bring more people this direction. So I do have some knives set out over there. I just forgot. Well, I wasn't planning on doing back-to-back live streams. I actually did film yesterday. I filmed a video yesterday. On top of everything else, I was going to film in the yard because I was like, oh, it's cooler out there. Just swamped with mosquitoes because we've had a little bit of rain, some monsoon rain, and I run the sprinklers every night. So I got like taken over by mosquitoes out there, and I got stung by a bee right here on my jawline while I was out there. And I was like, man, this is just not a good day for outside. Bladed Ginger, sorry I missed the live yesterday. I was slammed at work. Like I said, I really didn't intend on doing a live yesterday, but same scenario, it was hot. And then I managed to get it at least kind of livable in the studio for enough to film a video. I'm gonna try and film tonight after it cools down. I'll just get stuff done. But I'm on a limited time schedule with a lot of stuff. I have a lot of things to do before the wife and kid come back. So we're gonna get back over to the living room here in a second. I'm gonna show you some really cool stuff that came in. You guys know I got this custom Mac V SOG in for review and a little bit of repair from Shade Indonesia. So you guys know that is, I almost did it again. Almost walked off and pulled the power bank off the counter. So yeah, we're not going out to the studio unless I have to go grab something. I got this custom Shade Indonesia Mac V SOG that came in. You guys saw it. I did the unboxing Ooh, that is hot. I did the unboxing here when it came in with my knives that came back from Scab over at Choir Boys Cutlery. So I gotta adjust this a little bit. Sorry for the shakiness. I'm trying to get this adjusted so it doesn't look as though a handicapped person. Not that a handicapped person couldn't do this. Any rate, so yeah, this came back. This came in when he sent my knives back. And so this is Shade Indonesia's take on the Mac V SOG buoy, or the Military Assistance Command Vietnam buoy, the SOG buoy, because that was part of Special Operations Group. So I have a buddy that has the, he has the one, he has two of them. So he has this one, which is a faithful replication of the Mac V SOG. It is a one-for-one replica done by SOG Knives. This is a one-to-one of the original, but it's not the one. So they've done this twice now. This is the buoy 2. And then they have the SOG buoy, which has got the Mac V SOG markings on it and everything. That's the one that you saw Sarah Connors use on the picnic table in the movie. Come on, Terminator 2. Yeah. So at any rate, this is the new version of that they've released with some minor changes. So you're not really giving up a lot, but this is a good bit cheaper than that 1980s, I think it was 87 or 89 re-release of the Mac V SOG Willow markings. This is the SOG buoy 2, which is so similar I can barely tell them apart, except for the fact that some of these parts are PVD coated instead of being gunmetal blued, and they're not carbon steel, so they're not gun steel, so they're not going to rust, which is a problem we're having with my buddy's other one. So he has both of these. This thing is really cool. The only reason I wanted to borrow this is to have something that's kind of a one-to-one comparison with this custom version of it. So this is here, but that just reminds me that I want one of these so bad. I don't know the price on these. I want one so bad. And then there's something cool coming. I have a Grail knife. And I've had a buddy that told me I could do a bunch of stuff with his points. So I have a buddy that was in the military. And guys, there's 14 of you here, only 4 likes, and only 1 person is commenting. I realize you might be at work, but if you could at least drop a like, it pushes it up the algorithm here on this shorts feed. And I did put a little bit of work into these. I mean, I'm connected to wireless microphones. I've got all the stuff set up, which is this. My phone looks like it's in intensive care at a hospital. So, at any rate, I knew I wanted to do that, but I've had a Grail knife. This was a Grail knife. I had one of these before. I owned one of these before. This went to Scab over at Choir Boys Cutlery. He did a bunch of testing on it. I resharpened it last night. This is that military classic, the R1 military classic, done by Cold Steel. It is a very faithful homage and replication of the Randall Model 1. It's just done in some different materials. This one's in San Mai, micarta. This is a great, great knife. Absolutely love this. This is one of my prized possessions. It was a gift from one of you guys, the subscribers. And so it came back, but then it reminded me, I still have a Cold Steel. Well, that's not exactly what reminded me. I was thinking about it. I still have a Cold Steel knife that I want so badly. And then I saw Metal Complex's video about his issue with buying the Tai Pan, which is the knife that I want. He bought the Tai Pan on Amazon at a reduced price, and it came and it was all effed up, which I've had that problem before with knives from Amazon. I saw his video and I was like, I know exactly what's happened. The second before I even watched the whole video, I was like, I know exactly what he's gonna say. When he said he bought it when he was talking about the whole thing on Amazon. And he's absolutely right. I've gotten screwed that way before, and yeah, it got returned. So I've always wanted a Tai Pan. And here a few months ago, a buddy of mine, it was in the military, I don't know what that is, Compton bad boy. Any rate, so he had told me, he's like, look, I bought knives for guys because he would collect points, and then he basically got out of knife collecting, and he's like, bro, I literally have thousands of dollars worth of points on Blade HQ. He's like, I've been giving them people. He's like, if you want to buy something, he's like, I'm giving everybody points. He's like, you just take. He's like, I won't give anybody more points. You tell me what it is you're getting. I got the Tai Pan through Blade HQ. He's sending it. He ordered it with his points. He's like, I got enough for that, and so I have a Tai Pan coming. You're gonna get to see it in a video. I love that knife so much. I've had a couple of them come in. I did sharpening on a couple of them. They are an amazing knife. I want to see how the quality is on the new ones. I got the San Mai, not the 3V. But the fact is, I'm not going to carry that knife until I get a leather sheath for it. So if you guys know anything about cold steel sheaths, if they're not a leather sheath, it's going to F your knife up. They don't use Kydex, they use Securex, which is fiberglass reinforced. And it dulls your knife the second you pull out. Kydex, when you use a Kydex sheath, it doesn't typically dull your knife. It will scuff the finish on the blade, but it typically doesn't mess with the edge. Securex has that fiberglass in it, and you put a brand new, you can sharpen a knife up razor sharp and put it in a Securex sheath and pull it out the next time, and it is completely dull. They are the worst sheaths on the market, hands down. So, knives are life. Howdy, sir. Hope all is well. It's good. The wife and kid get back in just a week. So I gotta reorganize and clean everything. The house isn't dirty. I mean, I sweep and mop and vacuum and all that, but I have a tendency to leave my hobby all over the house. If you could see right now, there is literally the entire chaise lounge part of this sectional is covered with knives. Really is. And you're sitting on top of a knife case. I think I have to go close my garage door. I think the landscaper's coming a day early. Yeah, he's here a day early. Give me a second. We gotta go do this because I don't want grass and shit all over my studio. Typically he doesn't come till Thursday, but he's coming a couple days early, it appears. He will do that, whether I've got this garage door open or not. He will run the leaf blower and everything, and I'll just have, and he's like, hey man, I don't get paid to work around your schedule. So that's weird. Yeah, Tuesday. Usually he comes on Thursdays. So yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the wife and kid get back. I'm gonna have the house put back together. I'm gonna try and stay up tonight and film at least. I'm gonna set a goal for myself while I'm laid off until work comes back or I get offered something else. I'm gonna try and film a video a day, and then that way I have a stockpile of videos. So. But yeah, like I was saying, the Tai Pan is something I've always wanted. I saw Meadow Complex's video, and then I remember my buddy, I was like, hey, you still cool with giving me those points? He goes, yeah, you just tell me what you want. He's like, if I got enough points for it, I'll get it. And I was like, okay. And so, hang on, I gotta close that now. My dog loves the landscaper, by the way, so you can probably hear him crying. So yeah, that was something cool. So I'm having a Tai Pan, and I reached out to a guy about a leather sheath for it. So we'll see how that pans out. I'm curious to see if maybe it's a production issue. I'm gonna do my video. Guys, there's 21 of you here, only 4 likes. Double tap the screen and it drops a like on this. That gets more people up there. But I had something come in from Scab. He sent it. Yeah, leather is way better. So Scab sent this along he sent it in a separate package. It was an accident. He didn't mean to do it. Like, he forgot to put this in a box. So he sent another one. This is the Rosecraft Barlow. And I am really impressed with this. The Rosecraft traditional knives. if you're not into traditional knives, it's not going to resonate. But I grew up with traditional knives. And there's something about a good traditional knife. That's why Great Eastern Cutlery is so popular. That's why the Enrique Pena stuff that he did through Riat, I believe, is so popular. That's why the Jack Wolf knives are popular. Yeah, that's a sheep's foot. So this is really, really well done. Now, the thing I'm going to say is I like the Jack Wolf knives. Before anybody gets upset when I say this, I like the Jack Wolf knives. I like what they've done. I like how they've brought traditional knives more into the modern. And can you guys see where the dog jumped up and hit me? I got a black eye. It's been a rough couple days. Swags. Yeah. So what I was going to say is, as much as I like the Jack Wolf stuff, as much as I appreciate that, I think a traditional knife should be more traditional. And I think that's where Swags and the guys over at Rosecraft really have nailed it. This is done the way a traditional knife should be. And I don't mean to sound like an old fuddy-duddy. I was like, you're ruining my hobby. No, I don't want to say that. But this is what I think of when I think of a traditional knife. This is what I think of when I think of a slip joint. Even if this is not really this is more of a modern take on this. This is still just a really good traditional knife. I understand why this won an award. This is the best traditional knife, the best slip joint I have ever had. And I've had a lot of knives. This is absolutely incredible. I understand why I bought it. And I kept reaching out to Swags to get one of these. They kept telling me that they were going to send it, and I finally got tired of it, said fuck it, and bought one because it's less than $60. It's less than $60. If you can't afford this, you're just gonna have to think something, because less than $50. There's homeless people that can afford that knife. So it's just one of those things. They're great. And I don't see the only thing that anyone could ever say about the Rosecraft traditionals is that I'm not buying it because they're not American made. That's the only thing you have to say. Materials, the quality, the execution, it's all so good. This dog's going nuts. So guys, once again, there's 20 of you. Just double tap the screen and drop a like. It'll push it up the algorithm. So yeah, that's the only thing that anyone can say is that it's made in China. Like, well, I really don't care at this point. The whole world is made in China, and it's really hard to make that argument when you're texting that from your Chinese-made cell phone. That was a mistake. I should have just never even engaged. So. But yeah, so there's that. I've got a bunch of other really cool stuff to come in. We're going to talk about this in a video. This is probably one of the best. It's probably one of the best made knives, secret feature knives that you're going to find. Chunk, please, bud. I'm busy. Can you find a toy that doesn't make noise? So this is another one of those hidden action switchblades. They're incredible. The work that Matt Diskin does is just amazing. This is the fire. Come on, bud. Enough. Let go. No. 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 I don't want to hear that. He's going to just climb up there and get it anyway. So that's exactly what he's doing. What are you doing, dog? What are you doing? Are you wanting to get in on this? You want some attention too? You want some, you want all the knife world to look at you and go, "What a beautiful boy he is." Is that what you want? That's what you want? That's gonna be the new slogan, Swags. So, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I love you too. apparently we're gonna share the live feed today with my bestest buddy here, Chunk. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff that's coming out through the knife world. I would not have thought that that tickles, buddy, please. That tickles. I would not have thought. No, you lay down. I would not have thought that this would be something that would resonate with me. So, oh jeez, so he just loves to love. I think he's tired of being alone with me the entire time. The more people I meet, the more I like my dogs. Yeah, Chunk. Now he's laying down behind me. No, he has a thing with leather. You cannot leave anything. He's crawling behind me to get to these leather sheaths. I don't know when it started, but he has this thing with leather. He has destroyed a lot of stuff in leather that I thought was going to be safe. Oh, he's kicking me. He chewed up a belt. Does anybody know, like, is there anything like you can do to stop that? Like, I don't know. Like, I can't afford, like, belts aren't cheap. A nice belt is like 40 bucks. In case you guys want to know what has happened, he has completely crawled behind me and is now trying to push me off the sofa. It's this idea of cayenne pepper. Yeah, but I don't want to put cayenne pepper on my belt because I don't know if you know this. The belt is very close to a really sensitive region of the body. And if you've ever been pepper sprayed, like if you've ever been to a military setting where you got pepper sprayed and you didn't think and have the forethought to shower before you shower to wash your face off, you pepper spray your junk. It's not a pleasant experience. What are you doing, buddy? It's not a pleasant experience. I don't want to put cayenne pepper on my belt. So, yeah, but like I said, this came back and it prompted me, like I said, after I saw Metal Complex's video, I went ahead, I had my buddy get me a Tai Pan. I reached out to a guy to make me a leather sheath. So basically, I'm gonna get a Tai Pan with a custom leather sheath for whatever the cost of the sheath is. Because like I said, my buddy was Army. And so like he would just, like all the guys in his unit, he would buy them knives. They're like, oh, I want that. I would love that knife. And he's like, oh, I can get it for you. You just have to pay me back. And he was strategically being smart because he was into knives. He was getting all these points. And I can't remember if it was Knife Center or Blade HQ where it was. So he's getting all these points and then he would just get stuff he wanted. But he basically kind of dropped out of the knife collecting thing and he had all these points. He's like, yeah, I'm just giving them away. So we have a Tai Pan coming, which has been a grail of mine for, buddy, seriously, you're scratching me now and it hurts. Stop. I'll hold your hand. That's fine. The size of this dog's feet. I want to put things in perspective. I wear XXL gloves. Savannah can tell you, she's met me. Look at the size of this dog's paws. He's only a year and a couple months. He's still growing. He's going to be, I might have to get a saddle for him. I have a house horse. What are you doing? What are you doing, you big goofball? Look at that. The size of his paws. They're like bear. You have bear paws. Hey, stop. Stop kicking me. If I had known. Please stop, but hey, stop. Hey, enough. That hurts. He knows he's not. He knows what he's doing. He knows he's not supposed to be doing that. Have a golden retriever, and then buy a bunch of black shirts. You won't ever have a shirt that doesn't have dog hair on it, ever again. So if you like the dog, drop a like. Double tap the screen to drop a like for this big boy. This is a full-size couch. He's not even stretched out. He looks like a lion. He looks like a lion. So drop a like for Chunk. Remember Stripe Right for Dylan? Dylan Mallory made a bunch of stickers, and he was handing them out at knife shows, and they said swipe right for Dylan. So at any rate, speaking of great knives, and I just kind of, I decided I was going to grab a few of them to come out here because it's hot. And like I said, I can't find it. It's 88, 89 degrees in my studio. It's at least livably cooler out here in the rest of the body of the house. So great knife. These are going to be hard to find. This is the Terramundi Knives warning button, designed by Dirk Pinkerton, done by Beyond EDC. If you can't find these, reach out to me in the community post that I did. I did a thing about this. Just reach out to me in the comment section. I'll point you the right direction. My buddy Nico has like 9 of these. My buddy Nico has 9 of these. He's selling them for David to recoup. Hey, come here. No. Enough. 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 Go find a toy that doesn't make noise. Hey, give me a kiss. Hey, hey. Don't chew on me. Give me a kiss. Okay, here, go get it. I mean, micarta versus aluminum alloy scales, which do I prefer? Okay, it depends on the brand. Chunk, no. It depends on the brand. I don't have it out here with me. If it's Microtech, I'm always going to go aluminum. Microtech has the best aluminum handles on the market. They do better aluminum than anyone else. Pretty much any other brand, I'm probably going to say micarta. I really love micarta. It's probably about the perfect handle material. It's impregnable, but it still feels natural. The fibers on it are natural fibers. They're not fiberglass, so they'll absorb a little bit of moisture and kind of swell up and get grippy when it's wet. It's just a gorgeous material, and there's just so many things going for micarta. After that, titanium. So I would say micarta is my top. Like micarta is like my favorite handle material. I mean, geez, all 3 of these are in micarta. If given the option, that's the reason I have the Crew Carta version of this as opposed to a different version was I wanted micarta. This is the one that was in micarta. Do I still like Benchmade? I haven't liked Benchmade since I was 20. I'm 50. So no. We could turn this into an entire diatribe, Baby Blue, on what they're doing wrong and how badly they are alienating and screwing the knife community. Spyderco is still a little bit expensive, but their quality their quality pretty much backs it up. I don't like all the sprint runs. It makes them almost like Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Pokemon cards, but they still make a very good knife. Benchmade is charging you hundreds of dollars more than they should when you can basically get a knife every bit as good, if not better, from Hogue for a fraction of the price. The best Benchmade you're gonna buy now is a Hogue. And like, if you want a Hogue bug out, or if you want a Benchmade bug out, get a Hogue Deca. There's so many options out there that are just so much better. And Hogue is an American-made product. This is one of my favorite budget overseas made knives that has come out in a long time. This is that Havrog by Petrified Fish. I had one of these come in from Jared for review. I liked it so much, I'm like, I gotta buy that knife. That was before I got laid off, so I was like, yeah, and so I bought it. I think it was like 60 bucks. Absolutely an incredible knife. Guys, 31 of you, only 11 likes. Please double tap the screen and drop a like. It'll help get more people here. And we can talk about other stuff. But yeah, micarta is absolutely going to be the king. I only have one Benchmade knife. I only have one, and I keep it because one, it was a gift, and two, it's a Benchmade 940, and I use it for size comparison in videos because that is probably the best known knife in the knife world. So Baby Blue says, I just got one, didn't know what kind of quality they were. I got mine at a pawn shop. Well, hopefully you got a better deal than you would have if you bought it most places, because Benchmades just are ridiculously overpriced. If you can, I don't need it. These are still available. This is that Beglighter XL. We were talking about this yesterday in a video. And yeah, I got it out and started carrying it because I hadn't had it out in a while. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how good I forgot how good this knife is. It's, that's weird. I don't know what the landscape, is there a holiday this week? Is there a holiday or something this week that he would be doing my, like 2 days early? A landscaper usually doesn't show up till every other Thursday. I don't know. It's not like he had to come far. It's like literally right across the street from my house. What else has everybody got? Like Baby Blue bought a Benchmade. What has anyone bought knife-wise here recently? Just out of curiosity. Guys, your comments actually help drive this. It would be great if I got a little bit of interaction from you guys. What's my favorite knife? We've went through this before. I have a bunch of favorite knives. I'm not gonna go through it. I have a bunch of knives that all qualify as favorite, but like my most important knife, which I guess would have to be my favorite, is a knife that my dad gave me when I was like 6. So I've had it for like 44 years. It's a little folding, crappy pocket knife. It has a special place in my heart. It's been with me for almost my entire life. And especially now that my dad has passed away, it's even more of a piece of my emotional makeup of having that knife. I got a Spyderco Bodacious and the Artisan Satyr. I don't like the Satyr as much as I had hoped I did. It's a great knife, don't get me wrong. I have one of the prototypes here, but I did the video about the Satyr, and it's the new version now is way better than the one I saw, which was pre-production prototype. It was really thick and some stuff. I did a quick video about it then, and then I got one in the final production prototypes, like the final version, basically what rolled out. And it's a way better knife than it was, but I still don't know. Like, it's just not, there's just something about it that's just not a knife for me. It's a great knife. It's well designed and things like that. That's awesome. I don't know where my knives went. LOL, I used to have this little brown folding knife. The knife broke, but it was pretty cool. That's Alex. Darth BMX, where have you been, sir? I see all these people that used to be paying members show up in some of my live feeds every once in a while. Darth BMX was a paying member for a long time. Got to meet him at a couple knife shows. Really cool. How's your kid? How's your kid doing, by the way? I haven't seen you guys at a knife show for a while. Darth BMX says, I just got the new Bench Techman. I think it's called the Cicada. I haven't seen that one yet. George says, I want to get a Microtech Stitch stash amphibian in the clear apocalyptic version. Have you seen? I have the Microtech amphibian, and I had the Stitch here. The Stitch used to be my favorite. Let's go get the amphibian. Let's just go real quick. We'll go get it real quick. It's not that far away. It's just out in the studio. I just have to grab this. Yeah, I have the amphibian. It's currently my pick for knife of the year for this year. It's an incredibly good knife. What's the temperature out here? It's 89 degrees out here in the studio. There it is. I took it out of my pocket. Microtech amphibian is great. Oh, that's what I was going to show you guys. I did a video. The paying members have it right now. I did a video about something this knife. I got the most heat about my review of this knife of any knife that I've done so far. Like, people are like, you just don't understand the design, and it's supposed to be like that. And I'm not going to give away the entire video that I just filmed yesterday. First day in 8th grade. I remember the first time I saw you guys at a knife show, he was little. And then Darth came up to this thing that we did in Palm Springs area. So this is the Microtech Amphibian. Absolutely, George, this is absolutely my knife of the year. This is now my favorite Microtech. Used to be the Stitch. We talked about that yesterday. It used to be the Stitch. Now it's this one. And I think, I don't like the Ramlock Stitch. Let me clarify. I love the Stitch. I didn't like the Ramlock Stitch. It just didn't seem to work on that knife the way I wanted it. On this knife, the Ramlock is absolutely perfect. This is such an incredible knife. It spends almost every day in my pocket. So yeah, either one of those knives, great knives. But this is the knife that I was talking about. This is the V Vision R, designed by Snex. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't have a problem with Snex. He seems like an all right dude. I've had minor interaction with him. I met him like once at a knife show. At any rate, I just don't, it's like Vero knives. I just don't like the designs. I don't like the way they're done. I don't like the way they feel in hand. I don't like the mechanism. I just don't like them. And then this came from a buddy, and I complained about something, and a lot of people said that I didn't know what I was talking about. The M390 MK, I didn't have a problem with the M390 MK. It seems to be holding the edge really well. I resharpened it once. It's still holding its edge. I've stropped it a couple times, but yeah, I don't have a problem with this. I don't know what the actual heat treat is on it. A lot of people complain about heat treat, but then they really, like, I've told people, like, I don't know what this is hardened to, but it seems to be doing okay. At any rate, so this knife came, and it had the super lock. And it was kind of almost a version of the shark lock and things like that. I hated this knife. I still don't like this knife. But the big problem was if you pulled back and up at all, like you pulled back, and if you got big hands like me, you're gonna pull back. If you happen to pull up, you have to push it back in. That, I was told, is a feature. They did that on purpose so you could take it and clean in there. I don't fucking believe you. And I doubled down on my opinion on this in a video that I filmed yesterday because I don't believe them. People are like, oh, it was designed to clean it. And I was like, if that's the case, how come the new versions of this knife don't do that? You can't make it do that. You can't. It won't do it because guess what? They fixed the feature, which was a fancy way of saying, well, we fucked up and released the knife. And then on top of it, it just, I've grabbed big chunks of wood in the yard that had a more comfortable hand feel than that knife. But it's a popular knife. It's a popular knife. And that's, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I just disagree with that opinion. I think it's a piece of shit. In hand, in design, I don't like the blade shape. I don't like the cant of the blade. It's just not a knife for me. And typically I just forgo the doing a video about it. Now that they have a newer version of it, the field grade. I was given the field grade for a video, and I'm like, well, let me see the other one too. And typically I would not do a video about a knife that I hate, except for the fact that so many people told me I was wrong about that being an overlooked safety issue where you could actually just disengage your lock from the blade. And so many people told me I didn't know what I was talking about, and then they removed that quote unquote feature. I'm like, all right, I gotta call bullshit again. What's my opinion? Okay, What's your thoughts on Monterey Bay knives? I've been fighting whether or not, I would tell you. Matter of fact, let's pick you guys up for a second. I have two of them here. Two of my knives that are in the special case of things that are just like knives that I really, really, really like. Is the Monterey Bay Knives Slayback ZDP 189 core composite blade, and the EWC, which is a non-locking double detent. These are both great knives. Both of these are Laconico designs. All the Monterey Bay knives that I've seen, super quality. I need to get with old boy up there and talk to him, because I don't get to go to knife shows anymore. So, what's your opinion on the TRC Urban Tactical? I haven't got to see the TRC Urban Tactical. I have one TRC knife out here, and that one I actually think that the steel was run a little soft. Based on what they've got it listed for M390, I would have wanted it to be closer to 64 Rockwell. But you're like, no, that's too hard. That's too hard. You want it down like where it's at, like 5960. I was like, no, the industry standard for M390 and 20 CV is about 62, 63. I've run it anywhere between 64 and 65 when I made custom knives, and I'm like, oh, it'll chip. It's too. No, it's not. I'm gonna tell you right now. I made knives, custom knives. I did custom heat treat on 20 CV, which is basically an analog for M390, and I ran it at 65 every day. I would do all of my knives at 64, 65. And I never once had anybody complain about chipping. I never once complained of anyone having cracking. I never had a tip broken off of a blade. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the edge it takes is insane. You can ask any of the guys that got any of my custom knives. I have some guys that have custom knives that I made that still have the edge I put on it, and they're like, it just does not get dull. I think that TRC is running M390 a little soft. With that being said, the TRC that I have out there, that thing is probably one of the best executed knives I've ever seen. The grinds on are absolutely perfect. It is insane. It is top level quality construction and manufacturing. Manix X, so George says Manix XL or Military 2 and crew wear, which we get. I don't like the Manix series. As a matter of fact, there's very few of the Spyderco knives I actually like. I would absolutely go with the Military 2. There's a reason that it's still a good design after 25 years. And if you're here, guys, please double tap the screen and drop a like. Do I still make customs bladed ginger ass? I'd love to get my hands on one. I do not. I do not. I can't stand in front of a grinder. I can't stand in front of a grinder for that many hours. I'm going to make one more knife for myself. It's going to be, well, it's not out here. It's going to be one of my stonefish. Paul Mills says, I was told 63.5 HRC is perfection for M390, 204P, and 20 CV. Brian Kim told me that. Yeah, that's just about perfect. You can go a little bit above that, 64 or 65. You're still not giving up anything. You're like, when you're at like 63 to 65, you're about at the pinnacle of what you're gonna get out of 20 CV if you're doing your temper correctly. If you're doing a double staged 2-cycle secondary hardening and tempering process. So the way I'd do it would be put all the blanks in their packets, put them in the heat treat oven, get it to 2200 degrees, and immediately the second it hits 2200 degrees, start pulling them out, quenching them between aluminum plates to snap that at that hardness. Pull them out of their packets, let them get to a temperature where they're not burning the skin off your fingers, then put them in the annealing oven at 1000 degrees for 2 hours. You pull them out, you put them on the plate, you let them get back to room temperature, you put them back in for another cycle of 2 hours at 1000 degrees. It gives you a secondary, it gives you an annealing, but also secondary hardening process. And when you do that with 20 CV, it's time consuming. It literally takes about a 10-hour day to heat treat 5 knives. 10 to 12 hours, depending on how much the ovens are going to cooperate with you. But if you do it right, you're going to come out with some of the best raw material you're ever going to do. So the problem is when you take it up to those high temperatures, you do have some issues if you've done preheat treat grinds. We're talking taking something from 2200 degrees to 400 degrees in 3 seconds. And you're talking about a lot of shock introduced into that material. So you can't do any preheat treat grinds. You can do as much surface finish and everything, just flat blanking it and get your cutout done. You can get as much of that done as you can to get you to get your overall shape and the thickness you want. But if you've done a bunch of preheat treat grinds, you're going to warp a blade or crack a blade. It's just going to happen. It induces so much stress. And the other thing too is if you're plate quenching, what the hell did I just say? If you're plate quenching, you've got to get the aluminum plate to make as much contact with the blade as possible. Or you're going to have different hardnesses, because if you're not quenching it like that, where it's surface on surface and you're dumping the same amount of heat across the entire blank, then what's going to happen is you're going to have the edge is going to heat slower, or it's going to cool slower than the back, and you wind up with a differential heat treat that's not what you want. You wind up with something that's soft at the edge and hard at the spine. It's not what you want. So you basically can't do any preheat grinds when you do those super high temperature quenching, because you don't want the warping you're going to get, because you'll get warping along that edge. That steel will move at 2200 degrees. It's going to move. And if you've done preheat treat grinds, you're going to get cracking, or you're going to get warping along that spot that you narrowed, and you're going to get softer temperatures because you're not pulling that heat out as quickly. So you're going to have to do all of your edge grinding, all the stuff that a lot of people do preheat treat, before you ever even put it in the oven. Like, you can't do any of that. You're going to have to do it after, which that means you're going to go through a lot of belts, but you're going to not waste blade material. George said, do you like plain or straight edge blade? I have 0 serrated blades. Do I like plain edge or serrated edge? I have 0 serrated edges. I don't like them. 0. I don't like half and half. If I want a serrated knife, I will get a specific serrated knife. Chunk, please. Go away. It's nasty. His toy is just soaking wet. Go. 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 Fuck off over there. So, Chunk, no. Slimy ass wet toy. Gross. So, yeah, I don't have, I have multi-tools that have serrated blades on it. I have a Gerber, and it has about the best serrated edge on any. Chunk, please go somewhere else. Fuck. That's what I'm gonna, if I need a serrated blade, I'll just go grab that. But I'm not a fan of serrated blades. I have to admit, that is probably the best serrated edge. Spyderco makes some good serrated blades, but I find that a serrated blade is limited. You wind up not being able to do some of the finer stuff that I typically do. They have their place for cutting. What was this? MB, serrated edges are great for cutting cordage and synthetic materials. If you don't mind a rough cut, I've got a Police 4 K39 fully serrated, and it's a beast. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If I was working on a boat, or if I was gonna be doing some stuff where I needed to cut some rough cordage, or if I was back on a farm and I was cutting baling wire, or not baling wire, baling twine, if I was cutting square bales to open them up, I would want something like that. It's easier. It's just definitely easier. You don't have to sharpen it as often. It's gonna stay sharper longer than, say, something like this. But for my day-to-day use, I'm absolutely not going to grab a serrated blade. I don't, like I said, I don't own a knife with a serrated edge, not even a half and half. I'm so glad that phase went away. The half and half blades, do you remember a time where you'd go to buy a knife and there'd be a knife you really liked, and you'd look at it, you're like, why does it have to be serrated at the back? Like, why? Like that was, for a time, that was like every knife. Every knife you ever bought was like that. And I had knives that were like that just because I wanted that knife, and I just had to give up on having it with a plain edge. It was just, it was the worst time in the knife industry. Guys, can you see it? Big dummy here jumped up, it hit me in the eye. Now I got a black eye. People are gonna think I'm abused. Do you abuse your pets? No, motherfucker, they abuse me. He got me. He got me good. So, I don't actually have a knife in my pocket. This was in my pocket. What are you guys carrying? What's in your pockets today? Oh, we were talking about this. I absolutely love this knife. And like I said, my buddy Nico has them. You can hit him up. It's the Helpful Hobbit on Instagram. You can send him a DM. I think he has 9 of these left. Tell him I sent you. These are $300, but this is probably one of the best Wharncliffe knives you're going to come across. It is a Dirk Pinkerton design. It's got that definite beautiful straight edge that Dirk does on all of his Wharncliffes. They are very, very striking and straight. Comes down to a really piercing tip. Thin behind the edge, like really thin behind the edge on this. Comfortable in hand because it's got this curvature, but then it's got that pivot lock. So you got that clean lock. You're not giving up. Like, you don't have an extra spot of hardware to detract from the clean lines of the knife. It's just clean. Man. What would be bench? Oh, let's see here. Pizza Lover Forever. Lynn Thompson. So I'm going back through some of the old comments. Lynn Thompson swears by serrated edges for self-defense. Yes, they will slice through. I have to admit, I have a knife that is serrated. It's not mine now. It's my daughter's. It is the Matriarch 2, all serrated. Because I do recognize that, yes, that's going to cut meat and flesh way better than a straight edge. So that's my daughter's knife. That is the only knife that was intentionally purposed with serrations because it's great. I still have a black Talon here that belongs to Spitfire Custom. I keep forgetting about that. Bladed Ginger, I only own a few serrated knives or gifts. Mad Yoko's got the Manix 2LW and an Olight EOS. Bladed Ginger is carrying the Beyond EDC Geo and the Riat XO. That's the gravity knife. He's got the large one, the same one I've got. MB right now has got the Cold Steel Broken Skull. That was a really cool knife. You know what it was, though? They were like, oh, that's that Steve Austin design knife. If you go and look at it, it's a lockback version. Oh, I'll show you. It's a lockback version of another knife that they have on their thing. So what was this? George says, what would be similar to the Benchmade Adamas and the Hogue lineup? I don't think that they have something similar to that. So Pizza Lover Forever says, oh, the Broken Skull was so nice. I wish they'd release it again. Bladed Ginger is blacked out with blue accents. Okay, so I came out here to get... You guys are going to hate me because I do this to people. I basically ruin things for people and I show them things. So when the Broken Skull came out, they were like, oh yeah, it's Steve Austin. It's a collaboration with him. And he's like helped design this. And if you guys know anything, Cold Steel was famous for their marketing. And so they did a really good job of it. But if you have if you have a second screen that you can do this, look up the Cold Steel Broken Skull. And then look at this. This is the same knife. That's the same blade. This is Cold Steel Kudu. This is the best $10, and I'm not knocking on it. This is an incredible knife. This is the Cold Steel Kudu, which is absolutely the best $10 knife you will ever see. This outperforms some knives that are $50 and $60, and it is incredible. Bro, what can I use to stop corrosion on my K390? Cody Broadway says, take that knife, clean it up really good. If you can take the knife apart, clean everything, and put Vaseline on the blade. Put a coat of Vaseline on the blade, leave it on there for a minute, wipe off the excess with a paper towel, leave enough on there you can still feel it. It's what I put on this. It's just Vaseline. There's a light coat of Vaseline on all of my knives that would corrode, especially when it's hot and sweaty and nasty here and I've got it in my pocket. It's basically the same blade. I'm telling you right now, they did some minor profile changes. Blade stock thickness, overall blade edge is the same. The only thing they changed was a little bit of things on the spine. Don't get me wrong, I like the broken skull as well. I just think that this is a better value. I like the ring lock too. This is a very secure lock. And this is a big, big knife. And this is the kind of knife that, like, it's a $10 knife, but I still wouldn't feel bad about giving this as a gift. Mad Yoko just gifted a membership. Cody Broadway is now a member. Cody, I try to do some stuff for the members. I've got to do a giveaway. You guys that are paying members, I own you a giveaway. I actually own you several. So the next video I do for the paying members, there will be a giveaway. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I have to put up a link to the members gilded, but I had to delete the app because I don't know what was going on. I can only do it from my computer now, the gilded stuff. So if you guys are paying members and you're in the gilded server, you haven't seen me do anything because the app was starting to take up like 2 gigs, 3 gigs, 5 gigs of space on my phone. And I'm like, I can't have that. So I have a bunch of knives for giveaways. So yeah, the Kudu, absolutely, I would not feel guilty about giving this knife away as a gift. It's a very good knife. It's not plastic handles. These are super stable. It's comfortable. It locks up good. It's a big knife that is thin and easy to sharpen. And somebody asked, this is in 5CR, 15 MOV. So it is a cheap steel, but the thing about it is cold steel has always maximized what you get out of the heat treat. They will take historically garbage steels and make them perform on par with some higher end steels. Do I use the lanyard hole in the military too? No, if I could find a version of this that did not have the lanyard hole, I would have bought it because there's 2 reasons. As much as I love this knife, I think the pocket clip would have been better over here. It's not uncomfortable, but I think it would have been better. I think it would have carried better if it had been moved over closer to the center. The other thing too is you could have squeezed more blade in this if you had just gotten rid of that lanyard hole. It's ridiculous. You don't need it. Yes, you're right, Lone Star. It is. It's the Krupp. Was that the Krupp 4116? Is that what it was? Krupp steel. Krupp 4116. There was also another one that they used that was a Krupp, a German. Yeah, but it's still a good. I mean, it's still a really good steel, especially in a $10 knife. Because, like I said, if you give this to someone, it's still a decent knife, holds a good edge. It's a safe knife. You get a lot of knife for the money. It cuts really well. It's easy to sharpen. It's easy to maintain, take care of. Really high chromium. But if they lose it, it's a $10 knife. I have friends that I would never give a nice knife to. Like, I would not think about giving a $60 knife to a couple of my friends because I know if I bought them this Havrog, it would be the nicest knife they ever owned. And within a week, they would have used the tip as a screwdriver, set it down somewhere, left it on the hood of their car, and drove off without it. And I would have been like, fuck, dude, that was a nice knife. And you treated it like a piece of shit. I have those friends. That's why these knives these $10 knives get gifted to those friends. You're still giving them a quality knife, but you're not giving them something that you're going to feel bad when they lose it. Cold Steel also uses 4036. Yeah, they use a bunch of different steels. But like their AUS 8, their AUS 8. AUS 8 is a bad steel. It's not a good steel. But Cold Steel's AUS 8 was fucking great. Another steel that they used. I don't like XHP, typically. There are a few companies that have done great heat treats on XHP. I find XHP to take a gritty edge that you just can't get where you want, and it does. It holds it. To quote a knife maker friend of mine, XHP takes a garbage edge and it'll hold it forever. Cold Steel's heat treat was perfect. It didn't feel gritty. It held that edge. It was so clean and crisp and nice. It's just that their heat treat was so good on it. There's a couple other companies that have done XHP. Whoever did Brian Nadeau's XHP in his full-on custom knives that he was doing in the shop, whoever did his heat treat on those, amazing. It was incredible. Ghost 626, please don't use a knife as a first form of personal protection. I got news for you. I'm in California. It is my first line of self-defense because I have applied for my CCW several times. So if I'm not at the house, guess what I'm left with? A knife. But I've taken martial arts since I was like a little kid, so I have done edged weapons training. I am comfortable defending myself with armed or unarmed, with a knife or without. So a knife then definitely becomes my default means of self-defense there, Ghost. So you can say, it's great to say that. MB says, I agree. Cold Steel's XHP is the best I found. Cold Steel historically has done really good job heat treat. I don't know how they were doing it. I don't know if they were using the Peter's heat treat protocols or things like that. It's a good heat treat. It's an amazing heat treat. If you're just joining me, please drop a like. George asks, let me get my reading glasses. I'm starting to get a headache because I'm reading these without my reading glasses. What's your opinion on replacing hardware on knives to titanium hardware? I've done it a couple times. Let me show you case in point here. It's in the big case. There's two of them I did it on. I did it on this one, and I did it on this one. Okay, so Farron Forge Knife Work used to use steel screws. And this was a steel over travel stop right here. So I didn't change all the screws on this. I changed this one because I could anodize it. The problem I've had with steel screws in the past, and you got to be careful with it, these steel screws on this one. Oh, I'm sorry, I changed the pivot to a titanium pivot as well. I have a tendency to break those screws off, to break the heads off of them. The other knife, this knife was steel screws when I first got it. And I asked the boys at the shop if I could just buy a set of the titanium screws from them. So all the other ones I had titanium. No, I'm sorry, there is one other one that I changed the screws on, my Fortis. I changed those screws out for titanium screws as well. It's a good idea, to tell you the truth, because, here, this one. It's a good idea to tell you the truth because steel screws can rust. And the steel that your screws are made out of is going to be a different steel than your blade. So you're not going to get the same corrosion prevention levels from the steel in these screws as you are from the steel in the blade. So I did change these out for titanium screws, and then I did black ceramic on it, and then in the logo and down in the slots. So your screws are much more prone to rust your screws are much more prone to rust if they're steel than the blade is. So do I have a different material you like better? It's either steel or titanium. You're not going to find screws on a knife that are any other material. I have to say that the screws that Spyderco uses seem to be about the most rust resistant. I have yet to have a Spyderco knife get rust on it. Oh, what is your preference of G10 or micarta? I love micarta. Micarta is going to be my go-to. I'm sorry. Micarta is the go-to for that. So I much prefer micarta, but like I said, unless it's a Microtech, and then I'm going to take the aluminum option every day because they just do amazing aluminum handles. So yeah, it all depends, like I said, on the screws. So it all depends on the screws. If they're high chromium, like really rust resistant, it should be fine. And there are a lot of people that don't take their knives apart, so they don't have to think about the fact that titanium is much more resilient to the stresses of screwing and unscrewing and tightening something down. Steel is much more brittle. Steel does not have that ability to accept that torque as many times. And you got to remember, the screws that you're using, the shafts on those screws are very thin a lot of cases, and so are the tops. And so just having something that's going to have a little bit more motility and flexibility to it is going to mean that you have less chance of twisting the head off one of those screws. Spyderco screws are pretty good. They use a little bit thicker of a shaft on the screw itself. And as we all know, everybody likes a thicker shaft. That should be one of those, like, the more you know. So it all depends, thread pattern and all that, but I think titanium is the best way to go if you're going to have body screws. What is he doing? Body screws on knives, I think, should be titanium. It's just going to save you. Why? Oh, it's cool in there. That's why. He's in the bathroom because it's cool in there. It's hot. It's hot in the house. I like so many different handle materials, though, Ghost. I'm not going to lie. I love so many of the handle materials. I love carbon fiber. Carbon fiber, actually, if it's done well, carbon fiber can give you a lot. This is carbon fiber, and it's been textured. Let me turn this around, and I'll show you. So this is textured carbon fiber. So you get the attractiveness of the carbon fiber. And it's a carbon fiber backspacer. But since it's textured, you get the grip that you want on it. And then, just so you guys can see it, this knife has a little hidden trick to it. Hidden switchblade. Hidden switchblade. What does this Ghost says? What are we looking at here? MB, okay. Okay, so Bladed Ginger asks what's my preferred type. I like the coarser, the better. Not so much that because it has a different grip. I like the way it looks. The coarser it is, the more contrast you get, the better it's going to feel in hand. The coarser it is, it's just going to look good. It doesn't so much affect, like, it does give you a little bit more tactility, but more grip. I just find it attractive. I love the coarse fibers in it. So like the looser the weave material, the better it looks, in my opinion. There are some exceptions. That is an incredible looking handle on this Cold Steel R1. Cold Steel had some of the best polished micarta, but the thing is, it still does give you grip. It's not slick. Typically, I would want something to not be as polished, but the fact is, it still gives you really good grip on this. It doesn't feel slippery. Even your hands are sweaty, it doesn't feel like it's going to slip. and it's beautiful. But typically, I'm gonna want the coarser weave pattern to where it's almost, well, this one's just all oily because I carried it so much. Something like this, where you can almost see the fur of the micarta sticking up. So there we go. MB says, I like G10 on folders, but I would prefer a rough textured micarta on fixed blades. I prefer that on both. Bladed ginger, I prefer titanium screws. I used to strip them. I prefer factual evidence of the so-called QC issues by cold steel. Now anecdotal regurgitation doesn't cut it. Okay, I can show you right now. It's not even anecdotal. It was just literally right here. That knife was way off center. Every cold steel pretty much I've ever gotten that wasn't like the high-end ones had a screwed up sharpening grind. They have a tendency to be off center with their grind, misplaced choils and sharpening notches, things like that are minor quality control issues, but they're there. I mean, like, I have yet to have a cold steel that did not have an issue. This one, as good as this one is, had an issue that I had to rectify in sharpening. So as good as they are, but there's still quality issues. Only time on micarta, but fixed blades. If you want a factual on it, just buy a handful of cold steels and you'll see. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Jimping on knives, Ghost, I don't. Okay, let me rephrase that. I like jimping if it's good jimping. I like what jimping provides. Let me see, do I have one? Yeah, here we go. That's good jimping. That's not slick. It doesn't have to be really coarse like this. It doesn't have to be those big grooves, but it has to be grippy. And I'm way behind on the comments, guys, I'm sorry. It has to be grippy. If it's just softened and smooth, do I have one? Yeah, as much as I like this knife. That jimping doesn't do anything. It's smooth, it's soft. I like jimping for what it provides, but I find jimping to be unattractive. Lone Stars, I've purchased 33 cold steel models since GSM took, no problem, same as my mini Tonto. I'm not saying like they're not major issues, but there are quality control issues with cold steel knives. Did this thing finally break? I think when I dropped this the last time, it finally gave up the ghost. Yeah, it's trying to break. What was this? Do you prefer your military? Would you dye? I don't think I will dye the. I like that color. I like that color of George. I like that color of it. Ghost says, I agree. They fell off for most of Gerber. It was Ghost. Pizza Lover Forever. Cold Steel. Jimmy / Chopper looks like so much fun. I want to wax some wood. Ghost 626 is what's the knife with the most aggressive jimping. It's in this case here that you guys are sitting on. I'm trying to get through the comments here. Let's see here. Most aggressive jimping I have. Boy, howdy. This one has it in spades. Chavez 229. That jimping is 1/16 of an inch, each one of them, and they are not soft. They have not at all been softened. That is some jimping. That's almost a gear pattern, but you're not sliding up on that. Like, it'll take the skin off. Like, if you slipped, you would take a groove out of your thumb with that. That is the most aggressive jimping I've ever had on a knife. Right there. That's aggressive jimping, and I love it. I think we're caught up. So I saw a video about somebody talking about differences in cold steel heat treat before and after the GSM thing. And there was a guy, he was doing, now I'm not gonna lie, he was doing some testing that was questionable testing. The stuff that cold steel tells you not to do because they did it in their videos. But he had a couple of his knives that just with drop testing into wood and a light throw, the whole front of the knife bent. And I was like, well, that's not what I would expect. You know what I mean? Like, especially after seeing so many of the cold steel testing videos where they put it in the vise and they bend the blade back. And so I don't know what has changed, and I can't remember the name of the guy's channel that I was watching when it happened. But no, I don't like jimping. I don't like jimping for aesthetics. Like, people will put jimping on knives because they think it looks cool and they think it looks tactical, when in all actuality, it's supposed to be there for a purpose, and it's supposed to be there for a purpose, and it just doesn't really fit the bill. Like what they did, it just doesn't. I just don't like it. Like, if you're going to put jimping on it, it needs to be functional. If it's not going to be functional, just don't put it on. This has good jimping. This has decent jimping. It's smaller, but it's still effective. If you're going to do jimping, though, I want it in spots that I'm going to use it. Like, if you're going to jimp it, if you're going to jimp this knife, and it's something where I may get up on it, I want jimping farther up, which is a nice thing about this one. This has a long section of jimping on this. So if I'm up on it like this, I still have that jimping. If you're going to do good jimping, and it's a knife that's going to get used in like a pinch grip way up on the blade like this, I would say run the jimping all the way up to here. There's no reason you can't. This one's not bad because the pad of my hand is still on the jimping. So if I'm up on it like this, so not so much. But yeah, typically not a fan. I could deal without it. Most of the time, like I said, the jimping on most knives is so soft and vestigial. Another knife that has really good jimping, all of my Spydercos. You got to give them prop. That's good jimping, and it's in a sensible location. Like, that makes sense. And one of the things about Spydercos, they're ugly as shit, but that hole gives you a little camel's hump, as I like to call it, that just acts as a natural thumb ramp, and it is a super secure grip. So Sebenzas have the best jimping for that small checkering file style jimping out there, period. And guys, if you're just joining, please drop a like. Crowned or flat spine, asks Bladed Ginger. It depends on what I'm doing. On a pocket knife, a crown spine is fine. I love a good crowned spine, nice and soft. This has a fairly crowned spine outside of the jimping. I love the crown spine. It just gives it a soft feel, things like that. It gives it a quality feel, and I don't know why. It just makes it feel like a higher quality knife than it is. The spine on this one is crowned. There's no sharp edges on it, then it has some really good jimping. If I'm talking about a knife that I'm going to pack out in the field, and I'm going to take for a specific purpose, I want that hard 90-degree edge. Because I can strike a fire stick with it. I can scrape with it and not cut. So, like, I know everybody's seen feather sticking, but you can also scrape and do it. If you use the edge of your knife, you're going to knock the edge off your knife. If you've got a 90-degree on this, like a hard 90, you can use that to scrape and get yourself some fine little powdery kindling to throw in. And if you don't have that hard 90-degree edge on that, you got to use the edge on this, and then you got to worry about, is my knife getting dull because now I'm scraping that edge on an abrasive material, because wood is abrasive. Now you can pick a spot and do it way back here so that you're not losing the edge, but the fact is, if you're camping or if you're out in the woods and you've only got a knife, as opposed to using other things to scrape with MB, I'm talking like, if you're taking minimal stuff, I want a hard 90. Outdoor knives, I want a hard 90. I would prefer not to have a crown spine on an outdoor knife. This one has got a nice hard edge, even though it has that swedge that runs the full length. It has a hard edge on that there, and then in here, very hard. And the nice thing is, I can run a stick through this and scrape that with that. Use that as a scraping tool to get some fine kindling. So it just depends on the knife. God, I'm so glad this is back. This came back, the first thing I did was sharpen it. Like I got this back, and then I did some stuff with the dog. We went on a long walk, and then last night at like 10 o'clock at night, I was sharpening this knife. Because if you send a knife to scab, I have news for you. It's not coming back sharp. It's gonna come back dull. And it did. But the nice thing about the Sanmai 3, it sharpens pretty easily, and it holds it really, it takes a really good edge, it holds it pretty well, but it's also easy to sharpen. What the hell was that noise upstairs? Noise upstairs. Weird. What was this? Rounded oar spine is a must for balisongs, or your fingers get banged up. That's true. Ghost says, what do you use to sharpen your knives? I freehand sharpen on stones, all flat stones. I did this one on a diamond plate to just knock the edge back up and get rid of all the little rolls and everything, and reset the edge. And then 1000 grit Shapton Pro. So I did a 2-stage sharpening. That Shapton Pro is aggressive enough that you can go from like a 120 all the way up to 1000. So that's what I used. And that man says, what model is this? This is the Cold Steel R1 Military Classic. It is based very, very closely on the Randall-made knives the Model 1. They had permission to replicate this knife. This is a licensed copy of their knife, not like other companies like Blackjack that just basically like, oh, well, we're just gonna copy it. This was an homage to the knife, so it has some differences, but it is a fairly faithful reproduction of the Randall Model 1. So this is the R1 Military Classic. It's no longer in production. You can find these on the secondary market, but it even to the point where it has the reverse finger choil for stick and pull. So absolutely a beautiful, beautiful knife. I absolutely love this. Which choil? This one? Because there's two reasons. Because you have the snap where you can get up on it and snap, and you can stay behind it. But then you have the reverse choil, which is 100% designed for stick and rip. As a matter of fact, I found an old Korea War training manual that talked about how you use this specific type of knife, the Plenipote. There's another one of my previous paying members. You put your finger in here, and then you have the guard, and it says that you're supposed to come in low, aim for the bladder, and pull to the breastbone. So you're supposed to stick this and pull up. And you basically want to take everything that's inside of that person and put it on the outside. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous knife. So I'm just glad that the Tai Pan's still around, because like I said, I was able to order one with my buddy's points, and then I'm just going to buy a sheath for it. So, so many grails are discontinued. Category or limited run. Cold Steel Mini Tonto is one. Yeah, I had one on the channel. I've got a friend that has one. Such a nice little knife. Such a nice little knife. MB says, but I understand the design. It just limits the utility use. Here's the thing, like, that's not a utility knife though. That's my argument when I talk like this. This is not, I mean, this is closer to a utility knife. This is more of just like a camping style buoy. But even this is that SOG. This is basically this SOG Mac V buoy re-released. So that's not a camping knife. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is my late night with the dog walk knife, because we have mountain lions. This wasn't on, so if you guys saw the video I did where I went up on the mountain, this typically would have been on my belt the entire way up because it's easy to deploy, it's easy to use, and this is incredibly easy and nimble. It's just got the perfect weight balance. Just tip forward where you know where the tip of that knife is for everything. And if you're in an area where there's mountain lions things, like I said, I can't carry a firearm because I'm in San Diego, especially in a that's considered city park area where I go up on the mountain for testing. I can carry this. I can open carry any fixed blade knife I want. So if I'm carrying this on the mountain, I can use this to defend myself from a large animal. What is my most obscure, unusual knife? All right. I'm sorry, MB. I saw that and I was trying to think. We got to go get it. Let's see here. What is this? I'm working on a V2 of my, I thought you said your, never mind. I misread that because I'm dyslexic and I was like, you're working on your ego. What are you talking about? I thought it was there. I have a very unusual Spyderco. I have an obscure, unusual Spyderco. What else do I have that's weird and unusual? I really don't have that many obscure and unusual knives. I have a lot of knives. What do I have? I'm gonna grab a couple. I have a couple that are unique, I guess, would be what I would say. Yeah. Grab that one. That should be sufficient. Oh, there is one more. There is one more. There's a couple. I have a couple of unique and unusual knives. Not so much that they're unique or unusual. Like, there's different reasons for what I'm saying. I do have a very obscure, very odd, very unique. This is a mess. I'm gonna have to clean all this up. All these knives are everywhere. So let's go ahead. Set this back up here. Buddy. Is it nap time? This is nap time. He's still a puppy. You wanna get your ass out of my face a little? Thank you. Are you a Bark River fan? Yes, I love Bark River knives. I have a couple. No, I only have one now. I only have one now. I gave one away to a guy. He needed a good knife for, okay, so my buddy started a hunting guide company. He needed a really good knife, and that was my business warming gift for him. I had one that was here for a while. Okay, most obscure Spyderco. So George said, have you seen the Flytanium lanyard hole stopper with tritium vials? I have, but the problem is it doesn't solve the issue of the lanyard hole. It really doesn't. Whether I'm going to use it or not, that's not the point. I just don't want it in the knife. This is the Spyderco Q. Can you see me? This is the knife version of women's lingerie. This is the weirdest knife, and it's got a really weird lock mechanism. Where are my reading glasses so I can see what I'm showing you guys? I'll make sure that you guys can see what I'm talking about. It's got this weird locking mechanism, which is actually kind of clever. It's just simply a drop in and a lift up. It's kind of unique, kind of interesting. It's also got a unique pocket clip system that I found intriguing. You basically squeeze these in, and that's your pocket clip, and you can just basically, yeah, you know what? I forgot about this when we were talking about serrated knives. So you can basically just take this and go end to end with this pocket clip. If I can get it to go in the hole. At any rate, you can go side to side with this pocket clip. It just drops in these holes, and then you just put it in, so you can go end to end, back and forth. But the thing was that this was not designed to be a released item. I forgot that this one was serrated, but this is never cut anything, I say as there's adhesive on that. So one of my family members has grabbed this very rare knife. So these were not done production style. The Q was, but not this version of it. This one is one, it was a dealer's promotional item. It was in a case, and I've seen them. So the case had a bunch of Spyderco knives, and then up at the top, this would sit there, and it had a picture of this, because this knife was on the cover of Blade magazine for its like 25th anniversary or 30th anniversary, I can't remember what it was. And so then they had this knife at the top of the case, and then next to it was like a little baseball card that showed the cover of the Blade magazine. And so this was a display case item, and they were sent to dealers and vendors to put in display cases. So this wasn't actually a sold item. So these are pretty rare. These are going for several $100s each. You might find them for cheaper, but that's because they're not in perfect condition. This one's like in mint condition. So yeah, they were unique. Another, I said I was going to grab something else that was unique. Ghost 262. This is a Melvin Watanabe custom. This is unique because Melvin makes custom knives. Melvin's a friend of mine, and he gave me this knife basically for nothing. I was like, I saw him at a show, and it was honestly the last time I got to see him at a show. Melvin is a very old gentleman. He's Japanese Hawaiian. And he was making these custom knives. He learned from Mayo, over at Mayo Knives. He went over to his shop. Melvin learned how to make knives from him. He made these, he was bringing them to the show, and I told him, I was like, Melvin, I have to own one of your knives. It's like, we're good friends. I don't own any of your knives. And I was like, how much for this one? He was like, for you, 300. And I was like, fucking sold. So I bought this from Melvin, and it's one of my prized possessions because I haven't gotten to see Melvin for a while. I've tried to reach out. I can't get a hold of him. I'm afraid that something has happened to Mr. Watanabe. So if any of you guys have a line on Melvin Watanabe in Hawaii, please let him know that I would like to talk to him, have him find me on Facebook. Absolutely love this, one of my prized possessions. It is an incredibly well done knife. Melvin is a great, great knife maker. Do I own any karambits? I do. I have one karambit. We can get that in a minute. And then I grabbed this because this knife is unique because I had the sheath and handle customized. But it's also a unique knife because this is that TDI by K-Bar. And the interesting thing about it is everybody thinks that this is how you would use it, but it was designed for law enforcement. So you'd put this in your belt on your weak hand side, which is why. So you put it in your belt on your weak hand side and you just reach down and you grab it. It has a pistol grip and it's just basically a punch and slash type of tool. But with this cant, it gives you that natural feel of a firearm. You could also put it on your strong hand side. But the point was, if you've got your firearm in your hand and you're fighting for your firearm, you can reach over, you can grab this, and you can just, like that, as a second chance. Karambit, I do own a karambit. I'm not gonna go get it, it's all the way out there. I have a karambit and I have a folding picol. George, next time I do a live fade, I'll go get it, but I've got so many knives here that I already have out that I just, oh hell, you know what? I do this for you guys. I can always clean up after. I have to clean the house anyway. With a dog that sheds as much as he do. Why does one call the karambit like grip style? Karambit. Technically, it's a reverse grip, I guess. Let's go grab that other case. Good God. It is 90 degrees, guys. This is why I'm not out in the studio. That's why I'm not out in the studio filming. This time of day, the sun is literally hitting that back wall. I can feel heat coming from over there. It's just horrible. There's the editing computer is still set up though. I was doing some editing. Do you guys think I like fixed blades? I could have a fixed blade addiction. It's a possibility. A bunch of knives there. Bunch of knives there. Bunch of knives there. And this is what we came out to get. We came out to get this. I don't think it would qualify as an ice pick or a hammer grip because you're not using it that way. You're using it more like an upward slash. Like, it's not quite the same. It's just that the blade is on the, you're holding it in the same grip you would hold it, like if it was a regular knife. It's just that the blade comes out the other end. Like that's the only, it's not so much that the grip is different. The knife is designed 180 degrees out from other knives. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily that your grip is different. The knife is made different. So it's going to go in your pocket the same. You're going to pull it out your pocket the same, but instead of deploying the knife up like this, the blade comes out the bottom. So it's the knife that's different, not the grip. Really? I guess. So I have, in this case here, I have two really cool knives. I have a karambit. So this is the Wee Knives Incisor. You can see it goes in your pocket like that. It has the wave feature where you pull it out of your pocket, you put your finger in here. So you're pulling it out of your pocket the same way, but instead of the knife deploying out the front, it's deploying out the bottom. So there's the karambit that I own. I don't carry this anymore. I used to carry this, but it was more of a, I was limited because this was the only one I had. And I knew what I wanted, but no one made one at the time. I stopped carrying that and I had a fixed blade Pikal that I had borrowed and I carried it for a while. Was this? My favorite user knife is the Outdoor Edge Leduc. It's an inexpensive fixed blade with an interesting duckbill handle, but I find it amazingly comfortable and useful. Lone Star Towboy says, Cold Steel Tiger Claw Black Talon 2 and Browse Blades Enforcer for my traditional karambit ticks. Those are all really good knives. I find this one to be better because this is the best of both worlds. This has got the same grip and everything that you would get in a Pikal or in that karambit. The ring sticks up, you pull it up, it waves off the pocket, but this is a Pikal, which is a much more, like learning how to use a karambit and using the slicing techniques versus a Pikal, which is almost intuitive. It's just simply, this is more akin to the ice pick like you're talking about. It is stab and drag, stab and drag. It is intuitive. It is the least thought required for a knife. Now this is my go-to if I'm going to a shitty neighborhood. This is my shitty neighborhood knife. It waves off so well coming out of the pocket. The pocket clip is completely adjustable. There's 3 holes. You can carry it left or right carry. You can raise it up or lower it down because there's 3 holes. There's a whole nother pocket clip if you don't like that. And there is a completely different thumb disc on this that doesn't wave. It's just like a traditional thumb disc. This is absolutely my go-to for like a self-defense style knife. It's got a nice plate up here. Oh, you can take the ring off too. If you don't want the ring, if the ring is like too much for you, you can take the ring off and then you can pull it basically the same way. So absolutely love this better than a karambit. And if you guys haven't dropped a like, I'd appreciate it. Please just drop a like. And then another unique knife, since we're still on that topic, was this. And we talked about this. This is a prototype knife that probably is never going to come out. It had the most unique front flipper design I've ever seen. It's Fair & Forge Knife Works prototype. This is the most functional front flipper I've seen on a knife. And then for that big mohawk, Makes your knife look like a punk rocker. Just completely disappears. It just completely disappears. One of the coolest knives. I'm really pushing to get Elliot to release this knife. I think that a lot of people would like this. I love it. I think it's a really cool knife. So I also have another, this is a unique knife. It's not, this is another one of those knives that like a creative way of weight reduction on this one. This is the Tucson TS383. So how do I feel about the Geo's front flipper? It's too big. For my hands, I'm not gonna lie, I talked about it, Bladed Ginger. I talked about it in the video. I said that I could have done with the front flipper being a little less long. It looks cool, I dig it. I just have a problem with the size of my hands, that my hands get in the way of my hands when I'm doing the front flipper on it. It's too long, it catches my other relatively large ham-handed digits. So for me, it was a little bit too big. I do like it, it's striking, and I did find a deployment method where I would just kind of like slap it against the seam of my pants with that long flipper, and it would snap open. You just gotta be careful that you don't like pull back too soon and stick the knife in your leg because it's incredibly sharp. But I did find that I could do that and snap it and hit it off of the seam of my pants because that front flipper sticks up. But that knife is on loan right now. Yeah, I did like being able to do it like that. Like I said, like a covert, kind of like push it up against your pants. Almost like a wave feature, but using the seam of your pant and just catching it and just popping it. And it was kind of a discreet deployment, but you also had to be careful that, like I said, if you came back in, you're gonna stick that very, very pointy blade in your leg. No one wants that. No one wants your legs leaking. So yeah, that was a unique one. This one's kind of unique. I have a lot of unique ones in this case. This is the Tucson TS301. I love this knife. Jared sent me one for review. I did the video. I sent it back, and then my buddy Winston Cobretti, paying member, done a lot for the channel, bought me this one as a gift. I don't know why I don't carry this knife more. This needs to get out. This needs to get out and get some fresh air. You're gonna hang out with me all day today, buddy. I just love how it's a frame lock, but it's completely nested inside, so you don't have that weirdness where your frame drops in. Some people would say that's a liner lock. It's not. Those are overlay scales, not like the actual scale and then a liner. It's an actually frame lock. Carbon fiber and G10 combo scales. And then that really, really super unique blade on that. That for as weird as it looks and the weird angle it's candid at, holy crap, that thing cuts well, and it is super thin behind the edge. This is like the perfect storm of everything you want in a cutter. This knife is a cutter. And it takes such an aggressive, the Tucson knives, a lot of the Tucson knives have got some of the best behind the edge geometry. Some of the best behind the edge geometry you're gonna find on a knife in these Tucson. That one I just showed you. Also, super good thin behind the edge profile with a nicely done blade profile itself. And that is also 14C28N, also really thin behind the edge. Not as quite as thin as that other one, but definitely incredible good cutters. This is the case full of all the unique stuff. This is the FA03, JT03? JT03 by KATSU Knives, JT03. This is a really unique looking knife, and it cuts so well. It's got that Mars Valley carbon fiber. It's a front flipper, top flipper, frame lock. It's very, very similar to a Japanese style Higo no Kami, but much more modern. As weird as it looks, as comical as it looks, it's really comfortable and easy to cut with. S35 VN blade, nice and long, and it is ridiculously sharp. They did a heat treat on it. The KATSU knives have all been stellar. That's why I'm working with them to make my first folding knife. Yeah, it does. It looks like a Higo. I did a video in Japan of me and the wife shopping for Higos for my friends as souvenirs. The wife and I went all over. I think it's in my video, my Japan vlogs videos. Other unique knives. Oh, we got the Dirk Pinkerton Proponent. Definitely unique. You can definitely see the Dirk Pinkerton styling in both these knives. Can you not? This thing is just, I love it, but it is just like, if you aren't planning on going swimming, this is a knife for you. If you've got this in your pocket, this is heavy. And the thing is, like, the insanity of it is there is zero weight reduction in there. It's as heavy as it looks. Actually, if you want to know the truth, it's probably heavier than it looks. I gotta open this window. Hang on a second, guys. It is heavy. If you're wearing shorts like I am right now, you're not putting that in your pocket. You're not putting it in your pocket, but it is a gorgeous knife. It's so well executed. So, I gotta bring some fresh air in. It's getting hot in here now too. It's gotta be at least 81, 82 degrees in the house here. All right, I missed a couple comments. Was this MB? I considered one of those for a long time, but never pulled the trigger. Bladed Ginger says the thumb studs works well as a wave feature. Yes, it does in your hip pocket. You're right. How is it as a user? This does cut really well because as insane as it looks, Artisan did a really good job bringing this down, and it cuts really well. So there's a lot of distance for them to get that thin behind the edge, and it's not in an insanely thick blade. It's thick blade stock, but I've definitely had other knives that are as thick, if not thicker. As a matter of fact, it's not really any thicker than my Ferrum Forge Fortis when you look at blade stock thickness. So it cuts pretty well, but I don't use it very often because it's just so attractive and so well finished. Now I have another Artisan that I do use that is similar. It's along the same lines. This is the Mastiff, and I use this and carry it all the time because it's not as polished, it's not as refined, it's still a really good looking knife. This thing is absolutely an incredible user. I think these are still available. So frame lock titanium, carbon fiber on the show scale, really smooth action. You can reverse flick off of that fuller. This thing's nuts. It's so much fun. So there we go. There's my unique knives. I have others, but like I really don't. I mean, I have some knives that are unique for other reasons. We've talked about them before. I have a couple of the Ferrum Forge Maker's Choice knives that are interesting because they were hand carved and they were done in the artist's theme, the way he wanted to do it. So they wound up being very interesting and unique. This one is meant to look like a fish. Those are all here. Let me turn this around. So those are all hand carved with a Dremel and a 1/32 ball end mill. So all those scales were cut in by hand. I'm trying to make sure that you guys can see it because I can't tell if it's in focus because I don't have my reading glasses on. So all of those scales were cut in by hand after this was all done. So that was all done, and then you can see there's the thing, and it was called the Marlin because it looks like a swordfish. Now this is the knife was the spinner, but this specific Maker's Choice was called the Marlin because it was done to look like a fish. And then this one's not a Maker's Choice, but this was commissioned. This was hand carved. This was a gift to me. So Elliot hand carved all this, put a copper inlay in it that is proud, and then ground it down because he knows I like the Giger style xenomorph stuff from Aliens and Alien. So he did that kind of specifically for me. You know what I mean? So those are both one-of-a-kind knives, which makes them unique and special and stuff like that. So yeah, there we go. See what happens? One question can lead me on a tirade that takes us past. I was thinking about ending the live feed. That was 30 minutes ago when I started going off on interesting and unique knives. Because I have a lot. That's the fun thing about knife collecting. Does any one of these knives do the task better than others? Well, specific tasks, yes, certain tasks that maybe they were designed for. But every knife brings its own little flair to your daily carry. And that's the nice thing about knives. They are the equivalent to, like, if your wife has a jewelry collection, like multiple sets of earrings, same. So if she ever gets on, I was like, my wife has got a bunch of expensive jewelry. I was like, you've got a $1,000 necklace that we keep in a safety deposit box at the bank because it's all sapphires and platinum, and it's probably worth way more now than it was when it was $1,000. And you never wear it. Yet you complain that I buy a $300 knife and I will carry it several times a week. It's like, it's no different. She's like, but that's jewelry. I was like, so are knives. A lot of times it's man jewelry. Doesn't do the task any better. Like, here, case in point. This $400 knife and this $80 knife. They're the same. Same. Does this knife do it better than this one? No. Then why do I have both? Because look at that. That's cool. And this has really, really good carbon fiber and a polished blade. That's cool. Basically the same knife. Now, I didn't buy this one. The company sent it to me, which is why I have an $80. I bought the $80 one. That I can do. The $400 one, I was like, I can't do that. And I was like, hey, I hate to be one of those creators that is bugging you about stuff, but is there any possibility I could see the CK04? I was like, if you've got one laying around that's been used, I'm not trying. I made it clear. I was like, I can get it to me and then send it around a bunch of people. They're like, no, we'll send you one. I was like, look, I don't want you to feel pressured. And they're like, no, we love your reviews. Here, we'll send you one. And now they're sending me one of the fixed blades too. I love this knife. The thing that this does better, this literally does do better than this one. This one has a pocket clip. Functional art. Another unusual knife, Yukon skinning knife, has the same elliptical blade shape as Canadian belt knife, but better hand. Yes, I love the Yukon skinning knife style. I like the Canadian belt knife as well. Cold Steel had a Canadian belt light. What was it? The Canadian Roach? Canadian Roach Belly. The Roach Belly, which is Canadian. It's a Canadian belt knife. That was what it was. The Roach Belly. I love that knife. I had one and I lost it. I don't know if they still make those. I can't spend any more money on knives for a very long time. I can't spend any more money on knives. With being laid off, I can't spend any money on knives. Which does, if any of you guys have knives that you would like to see on the channel, reach out to me in the description, in the comments down below. We'll get something figured out. You can also go to my public Discord and hit me up there. Down in the description of the video, it's join the community. It's a public Discord. Well, technically it's gilded, but it's the same thing. hit me up there. I would love to see you guys. Like it says join the community in the description of most of my videos. Go there and sign up and log in and hit me up there, and I will check it. I'll start to try and check it daily, but like I said, the app takes up so much space on my phone. I had to delete it because I still do film some stuff on my phone. There's a lot of stuff I still film on the phone because of the limitations of the new camera. The new camera is great at some things. It's not real great. It's good at the outdoors stuff and some other stuff that I've been trying to do, but it's not great at the up close. It doesn't have an autofocus. It's a set focal length because it's an action cam. It is great. It helps out a lot with stuff that I want to do, but it definitely has limitations when it comes to like tabletop review filming. So I'm trying to add new stuff in on the channel. So yeah. Anybody else got anything? What do you guys, anybody got any questions? 23 of you here and 30 likes. If you haven't dropped a like, I'd appreciate it if you drop a like. I will tell you, there is one type of knife. Wow. There's one type of knife that I love that's not something I would functionally carry. I've tried it. Well, technically there's a couple. I'm going to group two of them together, and that would be gravity knives and switchblades. I EDC'd this for a straight week. I love this knife. It's a great knife. It's probably one of the best made knives you're going to find when it comes to like a gravity knife. Awesome blade on this. I would buy this knife if they did it as a folding knife or a fixed blade, because just the blade on it is incredible. I absolutely love this knife. So like gravity knives and switchblades, they're good for specific things. Like I will say, if you have to be able to open and close one-handed, this is an option, but I don't think that it's any easier to open and close one-handed unless you're in gloves. So switchblades. And then the other one is balisongs. I just don't think I would ever carry a balisong. I love balisongs. They're fun. They're interesting. They're unique. They're not something I would carry because they're, one, the stigma, people are going to throw a fit if they see you with it. The other reason is that they really aren't that functional. They're typically not great user style blades. Balisongs are good for one thing, and it's the kids that do it at shows. They're awesome at it. And to spend that much time learning a skill, that's awesome. I enjoy watching it. I joke about it in videos. I'm like, oh, here we go. The handicap class showed up for their, talent show at the knife show. I joke about it, but it's amazing the things that those kids can do twirling with the balisongs and stuff like that. I find it amazing. I like to joke about it because it's the fun thing, the old guy joking about stuff. It's amazing. I wouldn't carry a balisong. I can appreciate them. I love some of them. My buddy has a couple incredibly nice ones at his house. And you've seen them on the channel a couple times. I borrowed a couple of them on the channel. Big E, the knife nut. What's up? MB says, I need my reading glasses. I need my reading glasses for that. There they are. What was that? In my younger years, I lived in the woods for long periods of time, and I learned to experience what works and what doesn't, blade geometry, handle-wise. Yeah. Fallout London idle animation with the balisong is a nice trick set. I haven't seen it. MB says, I don't own either of those styles. Agree with you there. Like I said, I can appreciate them. There's some really well done, incredibly nice balisongs. My buddy has one that has the gold titanium nitride coating, like the shiny gold coating on the outside. So it's a really cool knife, but it's just not a knife for me. Did I ever give you my opinion on SE knives? SE knives are great for outdoor style stuff. SE knives are really, really nice. My buddy has an SE. I can't remember what he has. It's a really nice knife. They're great knives. So I would never say to pass on an SE. Tops are also really good. I don't own any Tops knives because they're just, a lot of times they're not my style of knife, but Tops does really good quality outdoor knives as well. And they're a lot like some of the brands I really respect. Like their warranty is just ironclad. Same with Bark River knives. Like if there is nothing you can do to a Bark River knife that will void the warranty. Nothing. Like it doesn't matter. You could stick it in a vise and break the blade off with a hammer, and they'll give you a new knife. They have an ironclad warranty. So now we got to talk about something else that's cool and unique. We're going to talk about it in a video. Remember we had the SOG buoy? I was saving this for last. We had that, I showed you the SOG buoy too. This is Shade Indonesia. This is a custom version of that. Now this is here for sharpening and edge repair, because somebody really screwed up the edge on this with a like one of the belt style grinder sharpeners. So we're gonna try and fix that. That's gonna be a lot of work. I probably will videotape it. It's gonna be a lot of work because this is heavy, because that is all brass. It's all engraved. This is a beast, and the reason I say it's going to be a pain, when you have a knife that's tail heavy like that, you have a tendency, like it affects your ability to maintain the angle because it wants to pull down. So you have to fight against that to sharpen a knife that is really that tail, and I mean severely tail heavy. But I have to say, this is gorgeous. This is like, okay. This is this knife, right? With a Persian influence, right? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that doesn't give you Persian dagger feel by looking at it with the overall profile of the SOG Mac V buoy. It definitely does. I was trying to think how I wanted to put that, like, because I knew what it was in my head, and it suddenly, that was when it hit me. The Persian stylings that you see in a lot of like the old Persian daggers with the very swept blade, the handle style, but with a buoy blade. I'm taken aback, and I really dig it. I really dig it. Shade Indonesia has done some great stuff. And this is just more of that. So I am going to get this sharpened up. I'll do the video on it, and then get this back to scab. It's not dull. I just want to, it just needs fixed. It's not, like I said, if you use one of those powered belt-driven work sharp style knife sharpeners, you got to be really careful. You got to be really careful. It's basically a grinder, and you can definitely screw up a blade for permanent if you don't know what you're doing with them. I have sharpened on my actual grinder. I've sharpened on knife grinders. It's a skill, but the fact is that regardless how many times I put a knife on the grinder to lay that initial edge, every knife I made got hand sharpened. You just get a better quality edge that way. So yeah, it's just a lot more fun. SE blades are good. The PR3 is my favorite for outdoor use. I think that's what he has. I want to say it's the SE PR3. And we had the handles done just like this. My buddy Nico did the hydrographics on this. He doesn't do hydrographics anymore. I have this same pattern. So when I gave him this, I also gave him the grips for my Sig Sauer pistol. So my Sig Sauer pistol grips have this exact same pattern on it as this. I have a couple knives that have the same pattern, but this same pattern is also on my friend's SE on the handles. So I will say the SE knives are very, very prone to getting corrosion. I can't remember what steel they're made out of. Guys, I'm gonna sneeze, hang on. Sorry. My allergies, the landscaper just did the yard. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to end this. I've got to clean up the house. I got a bunch of stuff I got to do before the wife and kid get back. And if it starts to cool down this afternoon, like I did yesterday, whew, there we go. If, like I did yesterday, if it cools down and I can get the garage cooled down to about 80 degrees, I'm gonna film before the house horse here and I go on our evening walk. I typically will eat a Jesus. I typically will eat a jazz cabbage infused gummy and then head out on a hour and a half walk with the house horse here. So guys, I'm gonna get off here. Thanks for hanging out. This isn't gonna get any better. I'm just gonna keep sneezing. I love y'all. I gotta put all these knives away. There will be a video going up at noon tomorrow. You guys should tune in for that. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And I will see you guys in the next video. Wow, it's gonna sneeze again. I love y'all.